Hopping on board with Mbappe, Mr. First or Eighth so far. It has been a wild ride. If patterns hold, Crowan, we are in for a first place this game.
In kind of the early mid game. The problem is there's not much damage, right? Vladimir could with AP items, but the really only viable slam right now is a Rage Blade. Maybe you can make arguments for a Giant Slayer, but oftentimes not quite yet.
Yeah, I really like the creativity of the board, though. With no Sunfire and no carry, it's going to be very hard for him to do damage, like you were saying. It'll be interesting to see how this fight plays out. He does have just enough raw HP among the Brawlers and the Renewer healing to be able to take care of Escha's board, plus he's up a unit, so an early win for Incomplete. But this is not the start we've been seeing for him, where he's had kind of early slammable AD items, early carries for those items, so it'll be interesting to see. You know, we might get our wish here.
By win streaking, and Incomplete as well is taking a lot of time with this decision as well. I mean,
it's a pivotal decision.
There's arguments for both.
Yeah, he's deciding which direction he wants to go, right?
Yeah,
he can take a tier and lean towards AP. He can take a cloak and lean more towards AD. He could have easily slammed a Rage Blade and a Bloodthirster and been thinking about a Draven or an Aphelios line. Opts for the tier, and it'll be interesting to see if he commits an item, whether it's a Shojin or an Archangel, or if he decides he can just hold off for now, because going up against Luli has this very strong Kled 2, already has the Nidalee, as we talked about earlier, slammed the Hand of Justice, so Incomplete trying to get this win, slams the Archangel. Will it be enough, though?
Yeah, I don't actually think it will be enough. I mean, this Kled has Hand of Justice, it is damage, it's going to be able to get through the Vladimir, get through the set, turn its direction over to the Soraka. So
meanwhile, Mbappe is taking his turn at Kled in a much better spot than we have seen so far. When we were watching Spencer play the Kled, he was constantly behind the 8-ball, looking for these Kleds, not able to find them. Meanwhile, Mbappe at 50 gold on 3-2 with 7 Kleds, far ahead of the curve. His expected value is to wind up completing this Kled before the end of stage 3, so a very, very good spot for the Kled comp.
I'm surprised to see this. Honestly, I thought if you're not at 50 HP right now, you can't be running a Kled, but you can be doing it from a kind of win streak, or at least not a full loss streak style of play. Very ahead on the Kleds, is running into Shurikane yet again, and Shurikane, the Aswo, does finally turn his attention to the Kled, so will be able to pivot, this loss streak into some wins. Shurikane's
that is definitely one of the droids you are looking for. Spatula is such a valuable item in this composition, especially when you already have one, Crowan. The early Fawn, a Kled in the shop. Are we going to see a 3-5 Kled 3? We are. This is how you play the Kled composition. Just hit.
Not even this is how you play it. This is how you excel on it, Bryce. This is absolutely fantastic. Still 50 plus gold as well. Maybe doesn't want to get stuck on, rolling for this Ziggs. The Ziggs will come eventually. Even if it doesn't, it's okay to push levels from this point. It's just such a good spot. The only concern right now is what is this Radiant Armory going to give? If it's not a Kled item, things could get a little awkward, but you'd be happy with, I think one for the cannon as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He does have the most important item on this Kled already, that last Whisper, to make sure it doesn't get stuck on any heavy armor units, Bramble Vest being one of the main counters to this composition. He has a sword, which will become a damage item. It can be a Deathblade, it can be an IE, it can be a BT. Obviously, he would prefer to get like a Radiant Rune to generate mana, so there's just so much value in this unit. Here comes the big transition. He gets offered a Lucian. Here comes an Aphelios. Is he going to purchase the Draven? He purchased the Draven. Okay, 2 Dravens, 3 Dravens. This is exactly what we're looking for. Now he just needs some frontline to go with it. That's definitely a skip on the Teemo. There's no way you can justify spending the extra HP with no itemization for this unit. He passes on it. Here comes a Lulu 2. That's really big. He gets offered a Rel. He can get this Rel in, and then he would have a little bit more frontline.
Oh, doesn't do it though. This front line is almost non-existent. I mean, at least you land on the carry, right? The Draven is online, but definitely would have preferred the Aphelios route. I mean, that's why you're holding the Nightbringers, right? That's why the Lee Sins, the Sejuanis are kind of still remaining here. Has to make do with the Draven carry though.
Yeah, and the Draven carry is quite good with these items. Definitely not best in slot, but it'll do for now. The Kled is getting on top of the Draven and running it over. I have to admit that Luli's transition here was a little bit suspect, to say the least. He is not as fast as I want him to be in making that transition. He doesn't get the rel in. He doesn't reposition his locket, so he winds up taking a bad loss, and he's down on 2 lives now. He gets the Aphelios too, and it's an instant transition, Crow, and it's clear that's where he wanted to go all along. There's an Auction on the shop as well. He's definitely hitting the backline units, Crow, and it's the front line that's really struggling.
Yeah, not even Sejuani upgrade right now. It's a little bit awkward. I mean, we have the Heimer turret to be a little bit of fake frontline. Ivern 1, Fiddle 1 goes in. This is really a lot of heavy lifting that this Aphelios has to do, and hopefully good Teemo shrooms to supplement this as well.
Yeah, that Nightbringer emblem is going to do a lot of work. There's so much value on the shielding, the extra defensiveness for the carries, as well as the extra damage that comes with the trait. Going up against Incomplete, who has been running 5 Draconic. I see Golden Eggs on his bench. I see a Zyra 2 in play. I see another Zyra 2 on his bench, taking a much different line than we've seen from him so far, and in danger of his first bot 4 of the day. Can he hit the Zyra 3 to stabilize it? Speaking of stabilizing, Escha is really looking for this upgraded KO. He's clearly in mid-transition. Very awkward synergy line. He's got 3 Forgotten, 3 Legionnaire, 2 Revenant. Not what you normally see with 9 units, but his unit quality is quite high. That being said, his primary damage source gets insta-pop by this Zyra 3. It one-shots the KO, and there's just not really much damage left over for Escha. There goes the Teemo. There goes the rest of Escha's board. He needs to find a way into buying this KO. There it goes. Escha down on 1 life. Incomplete gets another win. We have an incredibly tight finish as we end stage 5.
Yeah, we didn't see all of Escha's pivot here, but we know the direction that he wants to go. It's going to be between Kale and the Akshan, it looks like. Holding a lot of gold on this bench. That's what, like 20, like upwards of 30 to 35 gold. Like, that's absolutely insane, and hasn't hit anything yet tiered up. The only upgrades on this board are the Volibear and the Thresh.
Meanwhile, Shurikane, first look at that board in a really long time. He had the 3 Yasuo's so early on, and still in search of Yasuo 3. This is a BG if I have ever seen one, Crowan. You see him sit back and sigh, hand in the face. He knows it. He was supposed to hit Yasuo 3 this game, and he's not able to get it done. Now let's see how he repositions. He gets the Shroud in the middle of the fight. The Diana is there as well, going up against Escha, who
good Diana
was
positioning.
able to upgrade this KO, but the Diana's in a great spot.
Oh, Diana's going to disrupt the whole backline. Teemo upgraded, though, and Kale upgraded. Might just be too much, with Shurikane not having the Yasuo 3. Lee Sin finding a bit of front line. Yasuo is slowly making his way into the backline. Gets CC'd, though. This Kale is ascending, pumping out so much damage. The Lee Sin slow does not hit either. The Kale is going to be too much for Shurikane to handle, and Shurikane's going to go out in the top 4, however, as Incomplete goes out in 5th, but definitely not the result Shurikane wanted. Shaking his head on that one as he was eliminated.
Yeah, that was a Lee Sin 3 diff. Lee Sin, or Yasuo 3 diff. Yasuo 3 definitely cuts to that front line, gets access to that KO, wins that fight. Shurikane, unlucky, but takes a 4th place. Very solid and in great qualification position. Meanwhile, our 1st or 8th gamer, Mbappe, we did say at the start of the game, Crowan, that he was heading for a 1st place if patterns hold, and patterns currently seem to be holding. Can he deal with Escha? Can he deal with Nukamura? He has a insane Radiant Thieves Gloves items, by the way. He does not move that Zephyr at all, though, so probably not getting great value there. Meanwhile, taking a look at Nukamura versus Escha. Escha has that KO. The Diana does walk away from it, so this KO does seem to be safely hitting and should not be getting CC'd. It is wailing away on that Garen 2 in the front line. Here comes Akshan swinging around. It's only an Akshan 1, though. Not very much damage to speak of from Nukamura, who still needs to find his upgraded carry. A KO 2 will beat an Akshan 1 most of the time, Crowan. Nukamura takes a loss. Escha, Mbappe wins again, so Mbappe is on a win streak. Can Escha find a way to upgrade his board or deal with Mbappe? That is really the question at this point.
Viego 2 is going to be huge, I believe. Talking about it earlier on the broadcast, Viego 1's more for disruption. Viego 2 can have an actual impact, steal some key units. One more roll to find it, potentially. Have to sell the Gwen pair. Is Escha even going to go for it? Oh, actually, he's going to be placing multiple Volibears on the field. This disruption might be enough to buy time for Kale to fully ascend and for the Teemo Shrooms.
Yeah, this disruption is really, really good into Kled specifically, and the Radiant Zephyr hits the Kled, so 10 seconds of no joy for this Kled, but the Viego is on to the KO, and it is going to steal it. Escha just does not have damage left. Escha will die for sure, and I think we have a very real chance of a double kill here, as Nukamura had the weakest board in the lobby. He takes the loss. Nukamura gets a nice second place, and Mbappe from first to 8th to first, back to 8th. Oh, wait, sorry, from 8th to first to 8th to first. He is back in qualification position, and what a wild ride it is with this man.